Yeah. Something went wrong.
Here you are.
Yes. Hi. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good morning. Welcome to Speak Freely with Barrington Salmon. It's been a while, but we're back. And we're back with a bang because we got Dr. Sharon Ames Denard, my friend and my compatriot and my fellow traveler. Known her for what, 40 years? Almost 40 years? At least 40 years. And she's one of the folks that have been out there pushing and moving and trying to push other people. She's a clinical psychologist. She's an educator. She's an emotional, what did you call it? You had a name for it, emotional, I forgot.
But I forgot that one too.
Yeah. Entrepreneur used to own this fabulous restaurant with great food, Nefertiti, right?
Well, Nefertari's. Nefertari's was one of those projects that didn't work. So we closed that. We've officially shut down operations this year. We closed for in-service during COVID. And then after COVID, during the COVID period, we went through catering. And so now our whole mission statement has shifted. And so now Nefertari's is a foregone conclusion.
Okay, well, I'm sorry it's gone because, we loved it. Used to go there and everything. But we're here tonight to talk about Serious Black Singles. Her newest project, and one that a lot of single Black men and women have been waiting for, have been looking for. A lot of folks need guidance. And Sharon is going to be helping them to find each other. So Sharon, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me always.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tell us about yourself and tell us about the project.
Sure. Okay. So first and foremost, I am a wife and a mother. Okay. So I birthed 3 children of my own, and then I inherited one via marriage. So, and I think she was about 10 when my husband and I got married. So I've raised her too. So my passion has always been trying to improve life for all of us and make a positive contribution. Okay. Yeah. So any project that you see me affiliated with, that's my own personal mission statement. So I don't become involved in anything that doesn't gain traction, doesn't have movement. So stagnation and is like a stale body of water, right? They're not going to mix with me. We'd be like oil and vinegar. So I've tried a lot of different things. So anyone that's been following the Facebook post about Serious Black Singles have been privy to the fact that there's been a lot of failure in my life, but then failure is a relative construct. It's not an all or nothing. When we usually think about it, it's like you did all winning or you did all failing. And it's actually a little different than that. You can always find some beacons of light in any project that you participate in and that you try to put forward. So, and that's what I've done. So I've done a lot. You mentioned the restaurant. We had a private school. We did that for about 17 years. We had Tallahassee's first internet cafe, trying to bridge the digital divide. That was way back in the 80s when big box computers was a thing. So we've done a lot of, we had the first African interest Black owned bookshop and gallery in the city. So again, everything was about enlightenment, trying to take us from a state of darkness into the light so that we could propel ourselves forward and be about the business of being about the business.
Okay. So when you survey the Black dating landscape, what does it look like?
It is sad, to use a small word that packs a powerful punch. Okay. It's sad. It's depressing. It's the landscape is lonely. I feel really, as a person who's married and who has had all that these youngsters are trying to now access, I feel bad. I mean, it's almost like, whoa, I can't believe I was able to access all of that. And the likelihood that you're going to be able to access that is almost infinitesimal. Okay. Yeah. And what struck a chord the most was the fact that women have a biological clock that they're working with. Okay. So you can't act like that's not real. The average youngster that I speak to in that bracket of 29 to 40, which is the first rollout of serious Black singles, they have a biological clock and they want kids, and they don't want to look like the kid's grandparent as the kid matures, right? And we all know that there are more challenges the older you are in having children. Okay, your onset of menses is what, 10 to 12? That used to be the signal for being in a state of readiness to carry a child, right? And so we push back. Oh, we had our career. Push back. And now here we are, and it's in the nth hour, the fourth quarter, and we're trying to figure out, we need a Hail Mary almost, to get us to the finish line with that. There doesn't look like there's a Hail Mary coming, though, from everything that I've seen. It's really, really, really bad. And so I'm fond of saying, just to give people a scenario that they can relate to, is that one of the problems, of course, is that the players, they're both women and men players. Let's not be mistaken about that, okay? So my position has always been, can we have you players step to the left, okay? All y'all that want to play. You don't want to be married. You don't want to have any kids, or you don't want to have any kids and be married simultaneously, right? So all you want to do is play. You want to get your groove on. You want to have somebody go to the concert, go to dinner, and then play. Okay, no problem. Just step to the left. And can you leave us serious people who are about the business of stable friendships, stable partnerships? We have an agenda. We're not just chilling over here to the right. We're trying to get some serious stuff done and meet up with those same serious people. Now, I don't think there's a lot of those people based on what I'm seeing in the street, but I think there's enough of those people for us to move forward with something like serious Black singles. So that's how that was born, out of a need, a great need.
Do you like, I'm wondering, I was thinking about it this morning, and I was wondering how, I mean, not necessarily to ascribe blame, but how much of this is young people not getting the things that their parents should have been given them in terms of communication skills and relationship skills and that type of thing.
Okay, so we have a multi-layered problem. We have let's go to the school system for a second. We'll go there and then we'll back it up. Because the parent piece is really, really important. But we live in a culture that purposely does not teach people life skills. No one, you've never had a class on how to be a friend. You've never had a class on how to find a mate. You haven't even had a class on financial stability, okay? Most people don't even know what a stock is, all right? They don't know what an entrepreneur is, because the protocol has always been get a job, go to school, get a good job, go to school, get a good job. And the ill-defined get a good job. So there are none of the life skills are being taught in school. All right. Now to flip it back and step back a second, the sadness is that none of the life skills are being taught in the home like they used to be back in the day. Let me give you an example. I posted how one of the things that I've noticed is that people have a difficult time with eye contact when they're talking to you. And so I said that the reason they're having problems with that has to do with where you grew up, of course. Okay. And if you grew up in the antebellum South, like I did, and through segregation, there was a rule that was laid on the table. You don't look him in the face. You know, it was always, you don't look me in my eyes, boy or girl. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then someone responded to that and said, I can't believe it. I never heard that in my entire life. Don't look you in the eye, you know? So the disconnect, because you're unfamiliar with the history, and then you're assuming that the person is not looking you in the eye, is evading. They must be lying. They must be whatever. When in fact, a lot of people are uncomfortable because that's just not the way they were taught, to look you dead on in the face and, try to, have a deep introspective connection with you. We're just not used to that. So, but we also, as much as we're not used to it, we don't talk about it. Okay. So the young lady that responded to the feed said, oh yeah, I was just out with someone. I was talking, and he was like, why are you staring at me like that? Okay. So he was quite uncomfortable because I suspect of the exposure and the carryover, the residuals of that that's carried over and snowballed. And because no one's ever pointed it out, then our attention is not caused. We're not attending to it, in other words. So parents have shirked their duties, and I'm trying to figure out why. All right. And so part of the why is parents can't do what they don't know how to do. Okay. Parents are overwhelmed. You got kids that need to be fed, they need to be clothed, they need to be housed. And you're like, it's taking all that I can do to do that. And I don't know if you've seen Tyler Perry's new movie, Straw.
No.
Exceptional. Okay. And this is one of the things he highlights, is like, how challenging is that struggle? And I wish I could say that it was just the single parent household that was having this problem. But the middle income, the upper income, they're not doing any better. They're not talking to their kids about life skills, how to interface, how to make a human connection. And that's what humans need. They need a human connection. And if they don't have it, they'll develop a ravenous appetite for it that then leads them down paths that they probably should not go down. And then you have all kinds of problems, which is what you have now. We currently have a marriage rate of 34%.
That's all?
That's not found. That's all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The top tier is the Indian from India.
Yeah.
They're up in the 90 percentile. Okay. Then you step down, you have white Americans. They're pressing around 50, 55, something like, no, I'm sorry. Next is the Asian. Okay. The Chinese, South Korean, all that pocket. They're down to about, I think, 70, high 70s. Then you drop down to whites, which are 50, 55%. And then you drop down to Hispanic. We're the last on the totem pole, man, with making this serious connection with each other. All right. And so it's principally because we don't know how to do it. And we're never taught how to do it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, because COVID seemed to have untethered a whole bunch of shit. I'm wondering if that exacerbated the problem, or if it's just one more layer on an already complicated set of issues.
Right. Well, we were in bad shape pre-COVID, and COVID didn't help us out. Okay. So we were already alienated. So let's lay it out there. We were alienated before COVID. Okay. People didn't have a lot of friends. And you notice they'll change the vernacular on you. Well, I got associates or some other thing. Friend is like too strong a word attached to some people. So we were in a hell of a mess pre-COVID. Then COVID allowed the walls to close in on you. Okay. So now extroverts had nowhere to go. They're social, they're butterflies, and they're closed in. The introvert is like, oh, well, nothing atypical here, just closed in. And then everything opens back up. And we were not ready. Okay. So extroverts are still trying to adjust. Like, okay, it's almost like coming out of a cave, man. And you're trying to figure out boy, is that light really bright. And what am I supposed to do with that? I need some glasses almost.
Yeah.
And and here's where the pavement meets the road. Someone reached out to me and said, and I said on the platform that serious Black singles meetups are always in person, always.
Yeah.
And then someone reached out and said, well, you know what would be great, Doc, is if you would live stream your serious Black singles. I was like, what? Oh no, that's the problem. Okay. Short of using a platform and a format like this to have a conversation about Black, serious Black singles.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to live stream that. Everything is always 1, 2, 3 tiers removed. And we need to be in your face having these meetups so we can get something done.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that folks in this country are like, even the whole idea of talking about sex, like not anything raunchy or anything, but just talking about sex. Most people shy away from that.
Right.
And my thing is, like, if you're going to shy away with something like that, and by extension relationships and stuff, then folks are stuck. Because you have this, and then you have this puritanical overlay.
Right.
So what suggestions do you have to try to break that?
Okay. This is a principal reason we need to be together to do it. Okay. So trying to have a conversation about sex on a platform when you're there, I'm here, it's just like, what is that? Okay. Yeah. Because we're not only talking sex, we're talking intimacy. And most of us don't know how to get any of our needs met. All right. So take sex and intimacy out of the equation for a second, and you're having a hard time with anything that you need. Okay. So that's just one more thing that needs to be discussed and to have a healthy dialogue about it. Because in truth, a lot of people grew up with those puritanical notions, and sex is dirty, bad, mean, blah, 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 blah. And sex is used to sell chewing gum, man, and a box of mints. So you're not even getting away from it. And don't get me started on the music and the infiltration of all of it. Yeah. And how it's so in your face. And so you start to adopt a very warped perspective of it layered on top of the already warped perspective. So guys, you may have a good friend that y'all have a conversation and you'll say, well, my girl is having a problem with this and I don't know how to deal with that. Then we have the overlay of trauma on both sides of the tracks. We usually talk about the trauma of women, whether they were abused in childhood or something, or sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. But that happens a lot to men too. Yeah. And they don't have a venue for venting that either. So this is my small way of saying we've got to start somewhere. That's if everybody wants this or enough people want it. Okay. So our first serious Black singles is capped at 60 people. All right. Okay. And you can't just pay a fee and show up to serious Black singles. That's not the party we got going on over here. All right. So the social scientist in me said, generate a questionnaire, ask people about themselves, tell me about you, answer. And the questionnaire is about 10 questions. All right. So if you're not serious, you're not going to engage those 10 questions. You're going to diss it. You're like, how dare she? I'm not going to fill out a questionnaire to come to okay, no problem. You're not our tribe. You're just not. Okay. And this notion that somehow we can include everybody when we know that everybody is not ready to go is stupid. All right. So we're not even rolling out like that anymore. We're saying that's the reason serious is in the name. You're either serious or you're not. You're not 1 foot in, 1 foot out, straddling the fence.
Yeah.
You're not our tribe. We're for the serious people that want to do one or two or both things.
Yeah.
One, you need friends. I can't tell you the countless number of women I've spoken to that go to concerts by themselves.
Really?
Yes, a concert. You know, a concert has always been a social kind of a thing where you get one or two of your friends. We go to the concert. But if you don't have one or two friends, you either forego the concert or go by yourself. And so a lot of people are opting to go by themselves. They go to the movies by themselves. Now, to be the first to tell you, everyone should have the experience of going to the movies alone, because it's a whole radically different experience to be up in there and you don't have the social standard of, did my friend laugh at that? Am I supposed to be laughing at this? You know, that kind of thing. And you can cackle, you can cry, you can do whatever you want to do emotively.
Yeah.
But we're social beings, man. We need human touch, women that haven't been touched. Nobody's kissed them in years. Nobody's hugged them really. It's just sad.
It is sad. It is sad. Man. Oh, Mimi says I used to love going to the movies alone. Well, but I'm sure you always had friends.
Yeah.
So that was an option that you chose.
Right. You choose. Yeah. So if you choose to go by yourself, that's different. Yeah. But we can agree that most people don't choose to go to concerts by themselves.
No.
They usually pick a friend and we roll out to the concert. Yeah. So the serious Black singles are people that are looking for friends, and also people who are single that are looking for partners and perhaps a friend that can transform into a partner, that kind of a thing. But they're in a state of readiness to move to the next level. Okay. So how do I do this? What should I be, working on? And how do I make a connection? Here's an example. Somebody shared this with me yesterday. They're at a bar. I don't recommend the bar. I say if the bar and the church was the place to find these people, you would have found them already. Okay. There are plenty of churches, and guess what? There are plenty of bars. All right. So, but for sake of argument, the young lady was at the bar, and there was a young man at the bar for a few seats down. He was checking her out. She was checking him out. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then he exits the bar. He never approaches. All right. Even though the energy between them that she thought she was giving off was, it's okay to approach, In fact, I would like for you to come over and approach. But he didn't approach. He happened to hear, though, someone call her name. Mm-hmm. So he then goes back to his house, apartment, whatever, hotel room, and he looks her up on Instagram and locates her. And he sends her a message on Instagram. Hey, I was the guy in the bar. You seem like a nice lady, blah, blah, blah. You see how deep that is, man? You had her right there. Yeah. Okay. She was right a few feet away from you. And again, men are equally challenged because they're like, how many times do I have to walk up to a woman and get dissed, or to have her, come fly off with some insulting comment before I stop doing it that way? And I look for an alternative way, a more distant way, albeit, which is what this guy did. Okay, now we could say there are a lot of reasons that he did it that way. But for sake of argument, let's just say he wasn't comfortable doing it the traditional way, which is, you would have thought nothing of doing it like that, of walking over and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and you seem like whatever, or I was wondering, do you have a minute, or whatever, some kind of game. You got some kind of talking game.
You hope.
Yeah, you hope. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, have you thought about, or how deeply have you thought about what you want the results to be?
Right. Okay.
how would you, what are some of the criteria that you would see that would make you think, okay, yeah, we're on the right track here. We're doing some things.
Yeah.
Helping some people.
Okay. So we know the situation is bad. Most of my inner circle said, girl, you must be crazy. Okay. There are not enough people out there that are interested and that would pay for such. Yeah. You know, we are a rapid fire society of make-believe, I call it. So it's you want to go to the forum, see some people on stage cutting a fool about relationships, okay? As though that's going to do you some good. So you get all dolled up, you go sit in the audience, and you figure, okay, all the people in the audience must be thinking about relationship. So maybe when we bust out of here, I'll meet somebody that's, you know, interested in a relationship or something. Yeah. That doesn't work. You take advice for people that aren't in a relationship. Okay, that really blows the mind. Okay,
isn't that wild?
Huh? It is wild, man. They've never been married. They're not even in a stable relationship, but they got all the advice for what you ought to be doing. Okay, which is crazy. Yeah. All right. So, as you know, I like the compliments of male energy and female energy. Yeah. So what usually happens in these kinds of circumstances is that you have more women interested than you have men. Yeah. So my pitch to everyone listening tonight is we don't just need men to fill up a seat or to be in a space with us. We need serious men. All right. Yeah. So of course you have some single people. They have a great friend. He really is a great friend. He just doesn't work for me. All right. So that's the person you should reach out to and say, hey, you know, I'm going to submit my application for this serious, you know, Black singles thing. And I think you should too. For the people that are coupled already and they're like, well, you know, I don't need it, but I know this youngster that might be able to benefit from it. And let me refer that person on. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are with trying to, you know, get connected. Now, Serious Black Singles is not a sit in there with your notebook. Let me tell you how to do it. It's active engagement. Now, Dana, my husband, who's also a clinical psychologist, we used to do relationship retreats way back in the 80s, man.
I remember.
Early 90s. I remember.
And
so those were very energetic, synergistic retreats. So you couldn't bring your con game and expect to win at it, right? So I can't share the exercises or the interactional things, or the transactional things that'll take place at a Serious Black Singles meetup. But what I can say to the audience is that we're trying to do something unprecedented here. I mean, that no one else has done before. Mm-hmm. And the attire for said event, I had one of these posts I put up too, is casual. You're not impressing me with some label, okay? Or some title or all of that stuff. You came in the world naked with nothing out of your mama's vagina, okay, or her stomach, as the case may be. But so all of those accoutrements are inconsequential. We're trying to get at who you really are, okay? Yeah. And if you're not willing to peel back that onion, then again, this isn't for you. So Serious Black Singles are about entrepreneurship. Think how refreshing it would be if you had a tribe that you knew, I am pitching my idea and this tribe is all in. They're going to critique it. They're going to make suggestions, recommendations, but they're going to help me launch something because that's deep in their soul. They can relate to where I am and they genuinely want to help me. So it's that. It's what are we putting in our heads? It's not for, well, I should say this, and I cannot stress this enough. It is not for the substance abuser. Okay. We're not doing it's not a therapeutic group that says come one, come all, and this is for everybody. Everything is not for everybody. And we don't have time for Dr. Jekyll's, Mr. and Mrs. Hydes. All right. We need to know who we're dealing with. So I had a post that said, if you need to step outside for a smoke or you need to step outside for a sip, this ain't it. Okay. You're in the wrong tribe. Okay. This is a dry event, not because I don't like alcohol, but because we don't need alcohol to be who we genuinely are. I don't need to relax down to be able to talk to you about what's what. Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering how easy or hard would it be? Because I'm thinking, I'm just kind of thinking about what you were saying. And I know that so many of us come with so many layers. And if given the opportunity, they probably wouldn't even know who the hell they are when the layers are peeled back. So I'm wondering what type of a process would that be? And I don't know if this is a realistic question. How long?
A series, for example, serious Black Singles is not designed to be a one-off. Okay. We meet up and I met a couple of people and they were really great. It's a process. Like life is a process. And again, we got to get out of that 10-minute mindset that everything's going to be solved in a short window of time. It took a long time for us to get to the space and the predicament that we find ourselves in. And it's going to take time to get out of that. But I think that for serious people that are committed to moving their own personal mountain, which is too difficult, by the way, to do by yourself, you're going to need some help. And if you're in a space where other people are trying to like move it with you, then, the boulder isn't so heavy, right? So that's where we are. I know what I would like to see happen, but I don't know what will happen. Okay. Because I think that we come from all walks of life. What is an issue for me is not an issue for you. Okay. And, but the willingness to recognize issues and then take the bull by the horn and do something about it is, something else. So we in this culture are very aesthetically focused. It's all about what I look like. You may think I'm cute from my exterior, but I could be a demon on the inside, man. So we got to get away from that too. Okay. There's nothing wrong with an initial attraction. Like, gosh, she's cute. Or gosh, she's, a beautiful sister, or he's a handsome guy and all that. But once we get past that initial thought, we have to get to the deeper level of what relating means and, how we connect at a deeper level to move forward. And so that's what serious Black Singles is about. It's about peeling back those layers and saying, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Not all of it is going to be, fun and laughter and gee gaga, but there are lots of moments in there for both. Again, trying to create a balance that keeps us and returns us to a state of homeostasis, because we're out of balance. Like,
You posted something that really struck me, because in the same way that we're so caught up with looks, we're also seriously caught up with status. And if the dude isn't Fortune 500 CEO making $500,000 a year, we don't want him.
We don't want him.
Or if the woman, it doesn't have 6 degrees. So I'm wondering, in your conversations, have you heard that come up a lot? And how much of an issue do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's a significant issue. And what people have to do is they have to weigh, what's the trade-off? You're going to sit at home with your mink coat and love on it? Okay. So at some point you have to wake up from your drunken stupor, figuratively speaking, and be about the business of something else. Okay. Because you can't I guess you could sex the coat, but it's not the same kind of experience. So we got to get out of that too. Okay. the first question that we have to do a deep dive on is, what do you want? Okay, really? All right. So, because this fantasy that you're going to find a guy with 5 degrees and a $500K salary, what are you looking at? Are you looking at the same thing I'm looking at? Okay. Yeah. And that person may very well be the abuser, the user, the philanderer. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are we saying here? At some point, you have to pull that back. And then on the flip side of that, for the guys with the women, because there are a lot of men seeking women that can take care of them. We have to say that's not what a serious brother does or a serious sister does. This is not our agenda. What we're trying to do is build, build a life that we love, that we desire, that we can see forward motion, and we're trying to go somewhere, okay? Mm-hmm. We don't have time to play video games 2, 3, 8, 4, 5 hours. Gaming is not your profession. If you can show me gaming is your profession and you're making a living and you can support yourself and a family, then I'm all in on gaming. But that's not your stick, okay? You're just sitting there wasting time when you could be doing something constructive. So again, it's not this serious Black singles is not elitist. It's not show me your handbag because that means you have class. No, it doesn't. You can't buy class. You look like a fool because what that says to me is you spent $1,500 on something that you can finger $1,500 of your life dependent on it to put in it. So we're not about that life. We're about the life of let's get serious and try to get something done. Mm-hmm. And are there enough of you out there? I don't know. They don't need to all be in Tallahassee by any stretch. But you have to get to Tallahassee. That's another answer to the question that came up. I don't care where you hail from. We're going to converge on Tallahassee, Florida, because Tallahassee is where we have a venue that we can use, where we own it, and nobody's saying to us, okay, gosh, it's midnight. Oh my, you all got to get out. You had the place till midnight now, so you got to go. It's 12:10. All right. And we have the resources to do what it is that we're going to be doing at Serious Black Singles. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's in Tallahassee, Florida. We have an airport. We don't have a train. We have an airport. We have, we have roads you can drive in. Carpool.
Carpool. Mimi asked if you could talk about the idea of dying of loneliness.
Okay. So I think when they put that out there, and loneliness is a slow burn. Okay. So that means that we are by nature very social creatures. So the idea that we are expected or are forced actually to live without human touch. And I'm not talking about from the touch of your mom hugging you or your brother comes over. And I'm talking about the level of touch that makes you feel like you're human. All right. There's no substitute for it from the opposite sex. And when you don't have that, man, I think something in your inners atrophies. And then that atrophy sort of is like a pebble thrown into a pond, right? It has a trickle effect that goes out. Now you're sicker than you've ever been physically when, the emotions and physical work hand in hand. They're like a head and a tail of a two-sided coin. And when you don't have that, something is being sacrificed. All right. So we're trying to, I can't say with any degree of certainty that your mate will be at the first Serious Black Singles, but there'll probably be enough people there that you can connect with that will help you to reduce the level of starvation that you're feeling just from having a conversation. What we're seeing now is that, and I've seen this a lot therapeutically when I see clients, you're coming to me not because you're disturbed, okay? You're coming to me because there's no one to talk to.
Wow.
How about that? Okay. I don't have a DSM-5 diagnosis for you. Okay. Because there's nothing wrong with you as the DSM-3 would outline it. I mean, 5, sorry. I'm dating myself. It was a DSM-1, I think, when I went to graduate school. But anyway, there's nothing in that manual that explains your scenario. Okay. You are not sick. And what we have been doing to people is, because the madness is all around them, the serious person thinks that perhaps they're sick. Okay, because I couldn't possibly be the only sane person, Barrington, in this room. But guess what? You are, in fact, the only sane person in this room. Okay. And if nobody says that to you, you can see how that will wear on your mental health and your mental state. Yeah.
It's so funny because I have all these questions. No, because I'm just thinking about people that I've talked to in situations, because it really, and I don't know how widely this is, but I'm always struck by how disconnected people seem to be from their physical selves. And I remember when my son was in his early teens, I would tease his mother and tell her that when he was like 21, I was going to take him to a bordello. And she was just so pissed. And I'm like, I wasn't going to do it, but I didn't think it was a bad way for somebody to learn about themselves and sex and intimacy, hopefully. And it just seems like people do everything they can to avoid putting themselves in that place. I keep on reading and seeing things with women, because men don't talk about it that much. But women say, I've never seen my vagina, never touched it, never done anything. Like, well, damn, this thing attached to your body, and whatever socialization that you've had, it's like a separate appendage. I think when it comes to sex and intimacy, that must be an issue.
Right. Yeah. So you sort of disassociate, right? You walk with it everywhere you go. Okay. But we don't talk about it because it's like, ooh. And in truth, most young girls' introduction to talking about the vagina is don't get pregnant. It's always the don'ts. It's never a healthy dialogue. Don't you go out in those streets and get pregnant now. Okay. As though that's all the information I need about something that's so beautiful and powerful and so life-giving and life-sustaining, right? Everybody got here the same way, but we can't even have a conversation about that. So I think it's only, maybe the last 30 years that they allowed men even into the delivery room. I mean, imagine that, right? So, but to piggyback on your idea about
as if the men weren't there when it all began.
When it all got when the seed was planted, right? So So again, we have a lot of warped perspectives about our own personal sexuality. I mean, men are walking the movies and all that tells you if you're not the mandingo type, then well, you're not going to find a woman that would ever love you for who you are and or how to. You're not that type. So I mean, what's the impact of not being that type? Okay, and then every woman is not looking for that type, right? But you wouldn't know it because that never comes up either. So we're trying to get comfortable in the skin that we're in. And as Black people, we're just, there's so many layers to it, man. Every day we're dealing with racism and its impact, and that's kicking our ass. And then we come home to empty houses and we're like, okay, I worked all day and I have nothing to come home to but the dog. Okay. Well, you're doing a disservice by having one dog, by the way. I'm going to put that out there.
Really?
And you're doing a disservice because you are responding to a non-human species, canine species, as though the highlight of their day should be dealing with you who is a non-canine species. So I always tell people, if you're going to have a pet, you should have 2 of them so that the pet has some companionship. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but anyway, so we're trying to be able to be in a space, a safe enough space where somebody's standing up there giving you permission and telling you what this feels like. Okay. So it's different when people are, trying to do a reality TV show and they're just trying to exploit you and exploit your emotions for some ratings, some hits, some whatever. We're about the business saying, I know how you're feeling. Okay. Because I'm a human being and I used to feel the same way. Fortunately for me, it worked out. Okay. And the working out part is because you work on yourself first. Okay. And then you put out a certain energy field that attracts what it is that you're seeking. Okay. We never talk about that either. We never talk about energy. It's always like, ooh, I'm going to pray about it. God's going to send me a man. If God or a woman. And if God was sending men and women like that, y'all would be straight. You wouldn't need serious black singles. But that's not happening. So get over it. So God also gave you your God figure, Godhead, gave you the 5, 6 senses plus a 6th sense to work with to get you to this space.
Yeah.
And I see myself as a facilitator of that. Okay. I'm trying to help you get there. Okay. So if you can't count on someone that's really in your corner, because God knows I had lots I could be doing with my time, right? But if you have somebody that's saying to you, as I am, I'm in your corner, I am rooting for you, okay? And I'm trying to give you some honest feedback about what men want, what women want. And here's how you do something like that in a least threatening way. So I'll give you an example of one of the things that happened. You'll get to pose questions, okay? You got this burning desire to know something, but you don't want to raise your hand and ask the question in an audience of people that you just met, okay? So we have the box, okay? The vessel, if you will, that you drop your burning questions in, and periodically we will go to the vessel to get nourishment and, all those esoteric kind of concepts. And I'll give you my most honest feedback about said question. And nobody knows that you posed it. But then you can feel like I got something from coming to this thing. Okay. And if you know people have been screened before they get there, it's like anything. You can't screen out Bam Bam and the crew 100%, but you can. There's no way Bam Bam and the crew would want to hang with us. We got too much going on, and there's too much accountability for what we have going on. Okay. So
Okay. All right. Hang on. Mimi.
Yes.
You got any questions? Come on.
I have questions like how is the event structured? How does the event happen? Like, you go there, you're answering these questions where you're sitting around, you're interacting with other people.
Yes, there are a lot of transactional encounters. Okay. There's we'll break, there's food. Okay. There's lots of things. I guess I'm reluctant to put a lot of that on the table, Mimi, because the element of surprise is another thing that's quite telling. When you get in a group of people, so you don't want to do anything or sort of play your hand, so to speak, so that people can be prepared for you. Okay. So that's why I'm not discussing the questionnaire. Like, okay, we'll get to the questions on the questionnaire.
But then your vetting process, and as a
as
a professional psychologist, a professional of people's minds,
right?
I would expect that your vetting process is better than most.
I'm trying. We'll see. We're about to see how far this rabbit hole goes, as they said in the Matrix.
I really like the idea of people bringing their friend, because you always do have
right
a friend who's male,
right
and probably cisgendered, who is not married, and you want to take them someplace like that, or even like us. We know of more than a few single Black people that may be serious.
right
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the other unexpected thing, I thought it would happen, but I wasn't sure. So I'm pleasantly surprised by the fact that this happened, which was the people that didn't make the cut. Okay, it's not an arbitrary, artificial cut. All right, it's 29 to 40 because most people circulate around a 10, somewhere between 5 to 10 year window of what they want to deal with. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to be sitting at the table with my father, somebody that's my father's age, right? Or my grandpa's age. Yeah. So, and the most pressing need, although the need is great overall, is for youngsters because they have a biological clock. The women do.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the first rollout. But I had a lot of feedback from people that were over 40. So the next cut is 40 to 55. Okay. Yeah. And so they're in the same position. Okay. They're hungry for the same kinds of things. A serious group of people that could be my friend, a serious group of people that could turn into a potential mate. Yeah. All right. And then there was the couples. Do you know how lonely couples are that really are progressive couples that have something going on? They can't seem to find other progressive couples. Yeah, yeah. Now, couples don't hang out with single people. That's not what we do. All right. Regularly. I mean, we might have some singles over to the house for something or whatever. Usually we're trying to do some kind of matchmaking because things are so terrible in these streets. But married people tend to hang with other married people. Mm-hmm. But there's no place for them to get together either to have healthy dialogue, to talk about something that matters rather than idle chit chat, cliquish stuff. I'm not in your group, so you're not in my organization, so I can't come to that because that's, for those people over there. We're not about that life, people. We're about coming to the situation naked. And all you need to do is be serious about your life and not trying to run game and the con, because that's not what we're about. We're about serious Black singles.
How long do you have a length of time that you want to do each session?
Yeah, I'm teeter-tottering on that. And I think once I solidify the group, I'll ask the group, okay? Because if you're looking at people that are coming from out of town, there's more expense, right? Yeah. There's a cost of coming to said event, which is not cost prohibitive by any stretch, but it is a cost. And then those people usually have a hotel, they have a flight, or they have a drive. And, so if you're local, you can get here and, it's an Uber ride perhaps or something. Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at the difference between 1 day and 2 days. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. And when we used to do the relationship retreats, they were 2 days. We would start on a Friday, go into the wee hours. They'd go home to sleep, come back on a Saturday for a full day of engagement, and then go home in on Sunday, So again, I think once I solidify the group, and I want to put this out there to the group. Don't come into this space thinking, oh, Doc Sharon's got all the answers. She knows all. She's the great seer, wise one. Okay. I think I have enough of the answers, but I'm not spreading the stretch of the imagination suggesting that I have all of them. And then what you can best tolerate. I don't need your short attention span running interference with our agenda. That? Okay. So you're like watching your clock. You're like doing something, you're tapping, you're doing something because you can't even tolerate being in a space for like a day. So trying to figure out whether we'll do a day a day and a half or 2 days, will be set by that initial group. And I'm hoping, like I said, it's capped at 60. And so I'm hoping to, get it to 60. We got more than enough space to accommodate 60 people comfortably. And it gives us enough time for that level of engagement, right? And activity, participation, and all that.
Yeah. Am I missing anything? Are there any questions I should have asked that I didn't ask?
Of me?
Yeah.
Let's see. I said you didn't have to be in Tallahassee, but you have to get here.
Yeah.
I gave the pitch for recommending your serious friends, whether you choose to come or not. You may decide I'm bowing out because, let's face it, I'm not that serious.
You can invite
but I do have a serious friend that I think would be great. This would be a great idea for them.
Yeah.
So all you need to do to reach out to me is you can go to the Serious Black Singles on Facebook page that I just created a few hours ago, or you can go to my page, which is Sharon Ames Denard, just like my name is here spelled, but no doctor there. Doctor's just a title. It's something I earned for sure, but it's not right.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and then drop me a message telling me you're interested. And then when I send out the questionnaire, I'll start firing those off next week. And then you get them back to me and we'll see, where we are and
sounds good.
How to get there.
Mimi, come here, please. We wrapping it up.
Okay.
You can come on, let people see your face. No, it's fine. I can do what I'm doing, but I'm not no production guru, so. You're not serious. Yeah, you're not serious. Well, maybe that's a problem. You'd be a whole lot more serious if you were single.
You're so silly.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
This was really fun. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I I want to be a fly on the wall. I think it would be a really interesting setup, because you and I know for a lot of people, we get that a lot from our single friends. Oh, you guys give us hope, and
because we old.
Because we're old, like the young people say, oh, you give young people hope that I can have this. And then some of our friends that are single are like, yeah, I feel like I could do this because you guys set a certain example. And I feel like this would be fun to go to between Barrington and I, and to be hanging with you guys, because we could set an example and be
sure.
facilitators.
Listen, once the date is set and you want to do that, it's always great and this is something that this particular age group doesn't see often, sadly. They don't see married couples, and everybody has a backstory, right? So y'all married later in life after you had a first life. Okay, so it's important.
And a second
marriage.
You're right. And one of the things that youngsters are grappling with, now ideally everyone would like to marry someone with no children, no extra anything. But look around you now. There's a lot of that out there. So you really narrowing the pool of candidates if you stay hell bent on doing it that way. Yeah. So I think they need to also be shown that this can work out. Okay. Right. Not every kid looks like Bebe's kids. All right. And a lot of kids are disciplined, and this whole blended family dynamic that we have going on can work. And I think hearing from older people is a good look.
It does work. The blended family has worked very well. We've been blessed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've been blessed.
Our children love each other.
And I never had to deal with another person that didn't have kids well, I mean, I was in a relationship with someone who didn't have kids, but he and my kids were fine. So as long as, you know, you're respecting one another.
Exactly.
I think that mutual respect, it all starts with
goes a
mutual
long way.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really goes a long way.
Yeah, so that's what and that story needs to be told by a live person in the same room, not on a platform,
we
buzzing in, talking about, right. I'm hoping that one final note on that. I'm hoping to kick this off in the fall. Okay, so that would be September, October, early November at the latest, and so we can go forward. Because you gotta, once you're accepted, so let's say you submit an application, you're accepted, there's some prep work for you to do. Okay, right. So in preparation for being in a state of readiness to engage this process. All right.
Yeah. And so where can they send where can they get an application?
What they have to do is they either have to message me currently, because the only thing that's up is my Facebook. By the way, for the listener, I just kicked this off a few days ago. Okay. And it was just putting feelers out there to see, is there even any interest in it? Okay. This all might be drama in my head that has no basis in reality. And then I discovered that, like I had hoped, there is a lot of interest in it, or enough interest. Let's walk back a lot, because you don't know what you're really dealing with till you're dealing with it. So then I created the Facebook group page today. But in the meantime, people were asking just what you're asking me. They were like, how do I get in? Or what do I do? Whatever. So they messaged me I have a public Facebook page. So they messaged me. I said, message me your email address. And then when I put the final tweaks on my questionnaire, which will be by next week, then I will shoot off the questionnaire. There's no fee to submit the questionnaire. Now, Serious Black Singles is not about the nickel and dime stuff. I have total transparency in what's happening. Okay. So if I tell you it's this fee, there's no hidden costs for extra, kind of a thing. So people just I need your email address so that I can email you the application. Now, once I correlate all those things and review them, then I'll issue what I call 60 golden tickets. Okay. And those golden tickets will come to you in the mail, and you'll have an opportunity to accept that invitation. Or actually, you get an email saying you were chosen. And if you accept the invitation via email, then you'll get mailed out a golden ticket that allows you entry into the event. And we're checking IDs, so don't show up without an ID. Okay. Right.
You can't fly without an ID. You can't, really
do any of that. Yeah. Don't try to sneak into a Serious Black Singles event. What are you doing? That's not allowed. So but I'm excited. As you can see, I'm always alive, loud, and just out there. So we're going to have a grand old time for those people that show up, and hopefully you'll walk away with far more than you entered that building with as a consequence of your participation.
I love it. Because as I told you before, Sharon, there was a time before I met Mimi that I thought that I was like railing at the gods.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? I ain't asking for much. I just want a good woman. I didn't ask for $5 million.
Yes.
And you all acting like this is some big,
it's like a needle in a haystack, though, honestly. God.
It was because
it really was.
We always talk about all the frogs that we kissed before we got here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff. But I mean, once we and on day 4, we knew that it was it.
Exactly.
We had a 2-week date.
But we knew each other. We had conversations. We had hung out, but not just as friends, and had good conversations. And I wondered about him, and he wondered about me. Maybe like sometimes I'm always like, yeah, you weren't thinking about me, but he says he was.
Yeah.
I
And
was.
so,
I was trying to get in your pants.
whatever.
I was thinking about you.
Okay, well, we now in that
Say, what are you saying, Mimi? That Barrington might not have made the cut on my serious black singles list.
I don't know, maybe not.
But you know,
Well, you know, the other thing that happens the other thing I want to try to introduce this group to is the old way of doing things. And one of the ways we do things is storytelling. And that's not happening anymore, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so kids are missing, or young people, and that's not an insult to you young people that are listening. It's just that you are missing the power of the magic. Okay.
Right.
If you hear my story and my husband's story, you'll be like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
What's the likelihood of that? Okay. I met my husband in California. Okay. On a fluke, I might add, in California. Okay. So I'll share that story so that people can see that you're like, what? That couldn't have happened like that.
Yeah.
And so
honestly, our story's the same.
Right. I know you told it to me. So I'm just like, they need to hear that level of magic to know that, one of the best books of all time, I say, is The Alchemist. And one of my favorite lines is that you must believe that the universe is working to help you and not hurt you. Okay. Yeah. So there's some kind of divine order, cosmic order, whatever in the universe that puts you in this trajectory, this place and time. So everybody at the Serious Black Singles Meetup belongs there and got there for a reason. Okay. And so since you belong there, there's no question whether you belong, you don't belong, or maybe I snuck in, whatever. You're here, and we're going to be about creating the magic that allows you to move and transform and jettison to the next level. Okay?
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I always love talking to you all.
Thank you. Because it's so funny because
we love talking to you.
Your post, because she had like about 300 posts. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I'm reading the post and I'm thinking, well, shit, this is something that people really need, because people are always complaining, can't find no good men, can't find no good women, and it's
then they come with this long list of requirements.
Like her.
I did not have a long list of requirements.
She had a long.
I did not. Every other word was he must read. You got to be able to read. You got to read. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, I can't work with that. Right.
I can't.
So just as a tidbit, something to throw out there to your listening audience. No, you have to have a list for sure. You have to have standards, but it should be no more than the 5 core things on the list. Yeah. So if you start getting down to the nitty gritty that he has to roll the toothpaste a certain way, we're in trouble. Right?
Yeah.
Oh God, no. Okay. This is going to be fun. And when you do the rollout, it would be great to do, because there is a forum aspect to this platform.
Okay.
And if you feel like doing something with the people who got the golden tickets beforehand, kind of like a Willy Wonka of single life, which is really fun. I love the idea of all of that.
I thought of that, doing it that way, Mimi, just because all of the mail we get is garbage. See, back in the day, you used to get a card. People would mail you a card. They'd have a handwritten note in it. And it was just beautiful to get something constructive and positive and heartwarming out of your mailbox. So that's all we're trying to do, is get back again to revisiting the ways of old that we should have kept, honestly. And that hopefully we can, start a movement So Serious Black Singles is a movement. It's not just a meetup. Right. Okay, we're trying to set up a movement.
Good.
All right.
I like it a lot.
All right, love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Just hold on for 2 seconds. I'm gonna close out the show.
Okay.
And we always close with an outro from my son's little Bald Fist song. Mm-hmm. And so let me do that. And bye-bye. I hope I see everyone at Serious Black Singles.
Yes.
Let me see why it's not working. All right, let me see. Oh, it will play it automatically.
Yeah. Imagine living like a black man. Yeah. Imagine living like a black man. Yo, a black man in America. Sorta kinda like being treated just like a terrorist. Living how I'm living, it's really no comparisons. They systematically trying to kill us, now that's the scariest. I swear the numbers getting various. I'm feeling like I'm Harriet, an underground soldier for my people that I'm carrying. They killed George Floyd, now I'm trying to fill the void. This the life my brothers living, it's really hard to avoid. I keep my hoodie on for Trayvon, I do it for my day ones. Sandra Bland spoke about the path that we should stay on. I can't breathe through this nonsense. The killings coming constant. The crooked politicians is never willing to stop this. Yeah, Breonna Taylor, say her name, say it again. Breonna Taylor, say her name until we win. I pray to God daily, deliver me from my sin. Trying to start a revolution, and here is where we begin. Yeah, if you want some change, you gotta model it. What else? Yeah, speak about your feelings, never bottle it. Let's talk about it. Try to do it peaceful, shout to Kaepernick. I really hate the fact that black lives not mattering. It's time to shift the narrative, I'm switching up the pattern. Yeah, it's a pandemic and racial wars that I'm battling. Saddened by the hate and discrimination, it's real. They gave us freedom under control, knowledge, man, what's the deal? Man, who's created equal? I'm trying to find the equation. Founded on oppression, we live in this situation. New days coming, I know that my people waiting. Swear we praying for a change and my brothers is losing patience. Yeah, so I gotta live for Oscar Grant. And I gotta live for Eric Garner. Yeah, and I gotta live for Terrence Cruikshank. Yeah, swear I gotta live for Michael Brown. Yeah, man, I gotta live for Freddie Gray. Yeah, and I gotta live for Betty Jones. Yeah. Swear I gotta live for Nipsey Hussle. Yeah. Swear to God that I'ma grind and put my people on.